fragile like a flower.
Fragile like a bomb.
Hello, and welcome to episode 24 of Like a Bomb. I'm Bailey.
I'm Mama Jill.
And yeah, we talk about impactful, powerful women from the past and present, and situations from women's point of view are unique to women.
Yeah. All
Yeah.
things women.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, or women adjacent. We'll it doesn't have to be women-ish.
Yeah, womanish.
Happy Pride Month. I'm wearing my Human Rights Campaign little rainbow flag shirt.
I'm wearing a
Black Sabbath
shirt.
Well, I fit my earrings fit your outfit with the little daggers.
I have earrings on, just they're underneath here.
Yeah, I don't like headphones. No. So I go headphoneless. Even though I do have a pair.
Not a huge fan, but then again, like, I was doing stuff around the house today, so my head hurts a little more today. Like, because I'm trying to organize.
Yeah.
Or get rid of. I haven't really gotten rid of many things. Tried getting rid of some things to your sister. She doesn't want anything.
Yeah, that's the reason I'm not wearing my glasses right now, is because the light to the side of me, that only if you're watching this you can maybe see the extra light on my face, because I don't have a ring light streamer set up. It was a bit much, so with glasses and things.
The ring, that's the
ring lights.
The selfie thing, Bobby. Yes, got it.
People also use it if they're a streamer, like YouTubers, Twitch. They make videos, they make content, TikTok, right. Instagram.
Whatever you say.
I know, because I'm trying to do my own. Because I have the t-shirts in the closet hanging drying from screen printing last night. I have a pile more that I need to screen print. I got my zines, I got stickers. Do I have my sticker up here? No, I don't. I'll give you a copy when you come visit, you and however many of the podcast stickers that we have.
I thought about it. I almost texted Grammy a few minutes ago to ask her about little boy sitting. Because I mentioned it, and then I said I wasn't sure because we hadn't completely finalized the dates, because I don't know anything about a job, because apparently nobody wants to ever reach out back to me. But I do have my MRI scheduled, so that's done.
Okay, good. Important.
Which is the big thing I need to work around. But I was texted her and said, hey, you need to kitten sit, which they're not kittens, but you need a little boy sit.
They're forever going to be kittens.
I need a little boy sit these dates because I'm leaving town. And I got to figure out what I'm giving y'all for your birthdays versus what I'm going to save for Christmas.
Mm-hmm. I have things to give you that weren't really mailable for Piper that I've already gotten.
Okay. Well, she's supposed to be moving July 1st.
Well, this is for Christmas for her, one of these. The other one could be a late birthday gift edition.
Okay.
I need to add something else for her birthday besides the shirt I got her.
I've only gotten one letter from the people I reached out to for that other person's birthday present.
I need to send you mine.
I need to remind your sister.
Yeah.
But I forgot to tell you, I test drove cars yesterday.
Oh, what'd you think?
2 cars. I did a RAV4.
Yep.
Out the door, it's 2024. Out the door, it would have been 35. And pre-owned. And the person who owned it, their dash looks, after detailing, like mine does. And I'm like, but I had more trouble getting out of that car than I did the CRV.
Okay.
But as I thought about it later, is maybe I didn't look hard enough to find the adjustments to the seat.
There's a lot of the adjustments, because I have the 2024 RAV4, and I have a lot of the motorized where you can adjust your lumbar, the lean forward, the slide, the up and down. I
struggled to get out. It was easier for me to get out of the CRV, which is one of my big selling points. Mm-hmm. But the one I test drove was 2025 new, which the 2026 new ones are only like $1,700 more. 36, but beautiful, but I can't afford it. 36.
Yeah, cars are expensive, but you can be like me and get a sticker that says "This machine kills fascists."
Yes.
Put it on your car.
Yeah, is it going to help pay the
car too?
Is it going to help pay the bill of the car? Stinking cars.
Yeah, I have a 3-year lease because that was the lower percentage or loan. It's not a lease. And I pay a lot a month.
Yeah, he showed me, depending on what I put down because of my credit score, that really helped me too.
I mean, mine's a good credit score. Not as good as yours because I don't have as much history, but I put a lot down.
Yeah, so
I put about half down.
I don't know. I only test drove one of each, and that was not here. So I thought, not today, because it's 4 o'clock and I have other things I have to do. And then tomorrow is not going to be open.
Mm-mm.
So, but I thought I would test drive the one, like go to the dealerships that are right here, even though I don't like the road they're on because it's like weird to get in and out of. But
Mm.
and just try it one more time and then decide on which one I really want to go with and then go from there. Because there was a 2023 pre-owned CRV with like 24,000 miles on it for 30, but as I was asking, they were selling it.
Uh, well,
And there's another one, but I even sent it to Grammy and she's first thing she said is that is blue. So that is
yeah,
the
you would
exact
hate in my car because mine's, I have the blue color of my RAV.
yeah. So even she was like, "You would not be happy with this car." I'm like,
No,
"No,
you hate blue.
I don't want a blue
That's
or
why
a
I
red
have to
car."
be careful. I didn't remember when I got the Nalgene little covers for you and Pip because I got blue, but I try and remember the fact that you're not a normal person and don't like the most commonly liked color.
No, I had to explain that to a dealer dude yesterday. He showed me one and I was like, "No." I was like, "I'm sorry. I don't like blue, red, or normal colors." And
Yeah.
just I don't. Primaries are stupid. Sorry. And I said, "Don't give me a white car either." And he's just looking
No.
at me like, "Okay, I'm sorry." But I also
Oh,
had when he tried to introduce himself to me, I was like, "Look, I don't have to actually buy a car. I don't need to be here. I don't want to be here. So I don't need you to try and sell me a car. I also know enough about cars and the car buying process that I can do this on my own. You do not need to talk down to me because I'm a woman, because I can actually take apart a car if I wanted to and put it back together. Because I appreciate your bluntness." And I was like, "Yes." And
you've had to deal with awful men that talk down to you amongst other things because we're women and it's cars, and I had to
yes.
bring my father-in-law with me to help work that out
Yeah.
because I
So,
didn't want to deal with that when I bought my car.
well, I think I was just hot and tired. And the other guy at the Toyota place who I just left not long before that basically called me old. So, but then I did tell him that he did that and that he was trying to get me to buy something for $35,000 and that he needed to be very careful because he said
Yes.
something about because he was just going to let me go drive the car by myself. He didn't take any information from me. I was going to go by myself. I was like, he's like, "You've been driving for quite some time." I said, "I've been probably driving longer than you've been alive." And he's like, "Yeah, you probably have." And then he like goes, "No, wait, I'm older than I might just be older than I look." Like that. I was like, "Nope, nope, you just called me old. You want me to buy something for $35,000? You got to be careful, man. Took you a second." And he's like, "Dude."
Yeah, there was definitely situations where I was left with just like the keys in the car, and I'm like, what?
Mhm.
when I was test driving.
The Honda dude did the same thing when I went to go look about the cheaper car, and he like left me in the brand new car with the keys and just walked away. And I'm like, "Do none of y'all think that I'm gonna steal you things? What
Okay,
about
but
me?"
also these new cars have their own location tracking. Like I don't even have to. Okay, granted, I have the GPS in my car. If I attach my phone, it will turn off, so I can't actually use it. I have to turn on my phone's location to use it for maps. But my car already knows where I am and the relative traffic in the area around where I am,
Okay, well,
and I
my car.
can't use it.
I think my car knows where it is. I don't know. My car's not that smart.
No, but besides cars, it's been a garbage week. The fact that somehow 10 years ago, my father was decent and accepting of, me being queer, but now all of a sudden he's very homophobic. So I feel like I'm a teenager again and had to explain that to coworkers because, like, oh, yeah, this week. And I'm like, I was crying like I was a teenager yesterday. And they're just like, it's all men. They're
Yeah.
close to my age, though, but they're nice. I was like, okay, my dad was being homophobic. So, yay. Dad, if you're listening, correction, father or sperm donor, since you're a piece of crap, I will gladly put this on the internet because you know you're being it.
Yeah.
Words because podcast and there's middle schoolers.
Yeah, he is who he is.
And he's
But,
getting worse.
well, yeah, I got nothing. I don't know. I had a student, I think I told you this, or maybe I told your sister, or maybe I told your grandmother. I don't know. I don't talk to a lot of people. When we did the Monday, so the Monday following the last day of school for the students, they could come in, well, they were invited to retest for the ERGs. So you
Mhm.
remediate and then they retest. I was remediating for my subject, so mine and another teacher's kids. And there weren't that many of them. I don't even know if there was
Mhm.
15 of them in there. And one of my kids goes, "I really want to meet your step monster." And I was like, "Okay, why? What is of all the days to bring that up? Why is today the day?" And he's like, "Well, I'm just curious, since you talk about her like that." And I was like, "Well, I mean, I don't really talk about her, but when she comes up," and he's like, "Yeah, but you know, I just want to meet her. I want to find out who this person is. She has to be so hot." Or I was like, "Okay, you got to stop." But all these other kids who don't, they know me, they know I'm wacky and weird and stuff, but they're just like, "Step monster." And I'm like, "Yes, that is how I refer to this woman in my life. That's not in my life." So,
I mean, I don't even really know my stepmom, but I know she doesn't like me. And now
yeah,
she's probably with my dad talking to her and him venting to her. She's like, see, your daughter is a B word.
well,
I knew it.
I think that we love people we love,
And
and we
blood
try.
doesn't mean anything.
Sometimes we just have to accept things that are not as easy to accept.
So, yes, for any of you middle schoolers that decide, wait, oh, I do fall into the LGBTQ plus. I am queer. And your parents or friends are understanding, there's plenty of people out there that'll be understanding.
There are. There are plenty of people out there.
And there's plenty of support groups online and things. Just be careful, especially as it's getting more dangerous to be a trans person that's a minor, and especially a queer minor, or just in general being not white man.
Yeah. Well, I keep having hope. Keep having hope.
Yay, such joys. But
Yeah.
do you have anything else you want to talk about before I dive into my story?
No, I'm gonna do Lamaze breathing here and there because,
Your head.
yeah, that's okay.
Yay. So my person, a bit of, I guess, rage with the world also. Let me pull up the right tab. Let me pull up Firefox. It's Greta Thunberg. You have most likely heard of her. She's been widely in the news since 2018 about climate activism, and recently on her ship trying to bring aid to Palestine, as she's very active in the pro Palestine movement. So she has 5 names. It's Greta. Is that an
No.
I? Greta Tintin Eleonora Ernman Thunberg. She was born January 3rd, 2003, and she's a Swedish climate and political activist, initially known for challenging world leaders to take immediate action to mitigate the effects of climate change. Um, she started in 2018 in August at age 15. She started skipping school, vowing to remain out of school until after a Swedish election to attempt to influence the outcome. She was protesting outside the Swedish parliament, where she called for stronger action on climate change by holding up a, I'm not going to pronounce it right, but it is an not English. It says School Strike for Climate sign and handing out informational flyers. After the election, Thunberg spoke in front of supporters, telling them to use phones to film her. She then said she would continue school striking for the climate every Friday until Sweden was in compliance with the Paris Climate Agreement. If you don't know what the Paris Climate Agreement is, that was signed in roughly 2015 between a lot of NATO nations and others agreeing, hey, we kind of got a problem. We need to fix climate. We've got too much carbon and carbon dioxide and other natural green gases that's heating up, trying to reduce no more than 1.5 degrees Celsius. So Greta Thunberg was like, you guys aren't following it. I'm done with this. And so after her first initial strike for the climate, other students engaged in similar protests. They united and organized for the school strike for climate movement. After she addressed the 2018 United Nations Climate Change Conference, weekly climate strike protests took place on Fridays around the world. 19, coordinated multi-city protests involved over 1 million students each. To avoid carbon-intensive flying, she even sailed in the carbon-free yacht from England to New York, where she addressed the 2019 UN Climate Action Summit. In her speech, she scolded the world's leaders by explaining, "How dare you?" in reference to their perceived indifference and action to the climate crisis. Her admonishment made worldwide headlines. She graduated high school in 2023, and her activism continued to gain international attention, and her protest tactics have become increasingly assertive. As an adult, her protests have both included peaceful demonstration and acts of civil disobedience, such as defying lawful orders to disperse, which have led to arrests, convictions, and an acquittal. Thunberg's activism has evolved to include other cases supporting Ukraine, Palestine, Armenia, and Western Sahara, in their respective conflicts with Russia, Israel, Azerbaijan, and Morocco. Thunberg's rise to world fame made her an ad hoc leader in the climate activist community. She has faced heavy criticism, especially due to her age. Thunberg's influence on the world stage has been described by The Guardian and other media as the Greta effect. She's received honors and awards, including Time's 100 Most Influential People, named the youngest Time Person of the Year in 2019, inclusion in the Forbes list of the world's 100 most powerful women, 2019, and nominations for the Nobel Peace Prize. So that is a very quick and dry, that's who she is. So a little bit more into her early life. So like I said, she was born in January 2000, daughter of opera singer Milena Ernman and actor Svante Thunberg. Her paternal grandfather was actor and director Olaf Thunberg, as exclaimed by The Week, with a thespian father and singer mother. It is perhaps unsurprising that she has a slightly unusual name, which I don't feel like is unusual.
No.
But she says she first heard about climate change in 2011 when she was 8 years old and could not understand why so little was done being about it. The situation depressed her, and as a result, at age 11, she largely stopped talking, severely restricted her eating, and lost 10 kilograms, which for us Americans is 22 pounds, in 2 months. 2 months, 22 pounds is insane. Eventually, she was diagnosed with Asperger syndrome, which Asperger syndrome really
doesn't
isn't
exist
a thing anymore. That's
Yeah.
just considered level 1 autism, as we've talked about on some of our last episodes of autism. Level 1 is just, you don't need as much help. You're considered more normal, neurotypical. And then she has
Functional.
OCD and selective mutism. In one of her first speeches demanding climate action, Thunberg described her selective mutism as meaning she only speaks when necessary. She struggled with depression for almost 4 years before she began her school strike campaign. When she started protesting, her parents did not support activism. Her father said that he did not like her missing school, but added, "We respect that she wants to make a stand. She can either sit at home and be really happy or protest and be happy." Her diagnosis of Asperger's was made public nationwide in Sweden by her mother in May 2015 in order to help other family in situations. While acknowledging that her diagnosis has limited her before, she does not view her diagnosis of, it's just autism, as an illness and has called it her superpower. She was later described as not only the best known climate change activist, but also the best known autism rights activist. And in fact, a lot of people in her Fridays for Future movement are autistic and very inclusive and welcoming. And so for about 2 years, she challenged her parents to lower the family's carbon footprint and overall impact on the environment, becoming vegan, upcycling, and giving up on flying. She has said she showed them graphs and data, but when that did not work, she warned her family that they were stealing her future. Giving up flying in part meant that her mother had to abandon international ventures in her opera career. Interviewed in December 2019 by the BBC, her father said, to be honest, her mother didn't do it to save the climate. She did it to save her child, because she saw how much it meant to her. And then when she did that, she saw how much Greta grew from that and how much energy she got from it. Thunberg credits her parents' eventual response and lifestyle changes with giving her hope and belief that she can make a difference. Asked in September 2021 whether she felt guilty about ending her mother's international career, she was surprised by the question. She said it was her choice. I didn't make her do anything. I just provided her with the information to base her decision on. In this case, this is recounted in the 2018 book Scenes from the Heart and updated in 2020 as Our House is on Fire, Scenes of a Family and a Planet in Crisis, with contributions from the girls and the whole family credited as authors. So, into her specific strike at school, we have her strike at Riksdag. She began the school climate strikes and public speeches, for which she became internationally recognized as a climate activist. And she got the idea of a climate strike after the school shootings in the US in February 2018 led several youth to refuse to return to school. And these were the teen activists at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. They went to organize the March for Our Lives in support of greater gun control. And in May of 2018, Thunberg won a climate change essay competition held by Swedish newspaper Svenska Dag. I don't know how to speak this. In part, she wrote, "I want to feel safe. How can I feel safe when I know we're in the greatest crisis in human history?" And so she's also had a lot of social media activism. As example, when she had her first school climate protest, she encouraged people to film her and she posted a photo of her first strike day on Instagram and Twitter, and other social media accounts quickly took up her cause. High-profile youth activists amplified her Instagram posts, and on the second day, other activists joined her. A representative of the Finnish bank Nordea quoted one of Thunberg's tweet to more than 200,000 followers. And so her social media profile has attracted local reporters whose stories earned international coverage in little more than a week. Throughout 2018, Thunberg's activism evolved from a solidarity protest to taking part in demonstrations throughout Europe, making several high-profile public speeches and mobilizing her followers on social media platforms. In December, after Sweden's 2018 general election, she continued her school strike, but only on Fridays. She inspired school students across the globe to take part in her Friday school strikes. In December alone, more than 20,000 students held strikes in at least 270 cities. My words are all over the place. Yeah. And so she took a sabbatical year 19 and she sailed across the Atlantic Ocean from Plymouth, England to New York City in a 60-foot racing yacht equipped with solar panels and underwater turbines. The trip was announced as a carbon-neutral transatlantic crossing, serving as a demonstration of Thunberg's declared beliefs in the importance of reducing emission. The voyage took 15 days, and she's been part of the UN Climate Action Summit in September 2019. It was in New York City, and on the same day, the United Nations Children Fund hosted a press conference with Thunberg, joined by 15 other children. And they together announced they had made an official complaint against 5 nations that were not on track to meet the emission reduction targets they committed to in their Paris Agreement pledges, such as Argentina, Brazil, France, Germany, and Turkey. And then there's so many things she has done. It's insane. I could talk for several more hours about all the things she did. But in late September 2019, she participated in climate protests throughout Canada and led a climate rally on the 27th of September in Montreal, and school strikes for climate went on from the 20th to the 27th of September that were attended by over 4 million people.
Wow.
With all sorts of cities across the US and different places, and then, like I said, a couple in Canada. She had intended to remain in America as a travel overland to attend the 2019 United Nations Climate Change Conference, originally planned in Chile. In December, however, it was announced on short notice that it would be moved to Spain because of serious public unrest in Chile. So she refused to fly, and that she needed a ride back on the Atlantic Ocean to Australia, and offered to take her. So she went from Virginia to Portugal on this sailboat that was 48 feet long. Yeah, 48 feet long. And her departing message was the same as it had been since she began her activism. My message to the Americas is the same as to everyone. That is to unite behind the science and to act on the science. I mean, yeah, and she continued further activation in Europe and ended her sabbatical year. She ended her gap in August 2020 because of COVID. Caused a lot of problems, but she did go back to school in 2020 and 2021. She used social media to criticize New Zealand Labour government's recent climate change emergency declaration, amongst other things. She used the ability of her connections with other climate activists and launched the annual Climate Live concert to highlight climate change. And then even more activism, these, 2022, 2023. It's just like, I want to touch a lot of things, but there's so much. And then she really got into the pro-Palestine activism, as soon as things occurred. So in October 2023, she posted a photo during her usual Friday climate protest, showing her and 3 other protesters holding signs. One side read Climate Justice Now, and the other 3 displayed support for Palestinians in the Gaza Strip amidst the Gaza war. Her posts on Twitter and Instagram also include 14 links to Palestinian solidarity, social media accounts where she said, "You can find information on how you can help." She was immediately criticized for not condemning the October 7th Hamas-led attack on Israel. The following day, she posted, "It goes without saying, or so I thought, that I'm against the horrific attacks by Hamas. As I said, the world needs to speak up and call for an immediate ceasefire, justice, and freedom for Palestinians and all civilians affected." Which, I mean, yeah, she passively clearly stated, save the Palestinians and, like, here's how you can help and other things. But, people were very much, well, if you're pro-Palestine, you're pro-Hamas, and two things can exist separately, even if they're the same area. So ignorance is ignorance. And so that's where she's been a very prominent person of no human should suffer. We need to all try and be nice and figure things out. And the Israel-Palestinian conflict, that is very deep. These also can go hours on. But this has evolved, and if you can keeping up with politics, Israel has halted all aid to the Gaza Strip, where the only aid going in is from their own people, which have been firing on the Palestinians trying to get food. And because of this blockade, Greta Thunberg was planning on boarding the Freedom Flotilla at a Maltese port in May 2025. The plans were cancelled when one of the vessels was attacked by drones in international waters off the coast of Malta. The mission of the flotilla, I don't know if that word's right, was to deliver humanitarian aid to Gaza. The long-standing blockade of which Israel intensified during the Gaza war, causing famine and humanitarian crisis. And it's not even just she's described as systematic starvation and genocide. That literally follows the definition of systematic starvation and genocide. Like, there is human rights violations happening. But another story. In June 2025, so literally this month, the Freedom Flotilla Coalition launched a new aid mission to Gaza aboard a UK-flagged vessel, Madeleine, aiming to challenge Israel's naval blockade and deliver humanitarian supplies. It followed a 15-year history of similar attempts, many of which have been intercepted or blocked by Israeli forces. And that is the case. They had been posting on social media and had a live stream, but in the early morning of June 9th, it was boarded by the Israel Defense Forces in international waters, and thus another situation of where getting her all of the situations of Greta Thunberg being arrested have been her refusing to leave, of continuing protest or blocking traffic, and now in the case of trying to bring humanitarian aid. Yeah, she has worked with many politicians. She's worked with a lot of the press, and there's the Greta effect, where it's, her voice leading this more of a push. And then she's also incurred, and then the shame of flying. She spearheaded promoting rail travel over flying on environmental grounds, which is great in Europe when you have a lot of railways, but it doesn't work in the US.
No.
So, like, And then she's been in popular culture and art, and as obviously a public image with social media, and to the point that Margaret Atwood, the author of The Handmaid's Tale, called Thunberg the Joan of Arc of the environment. And she has won many honors and awards. She was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize in 2019, 2021, 2022, and 2023. She was Swedish Woman of the Year in March 2019. She was Time's 25 Most Influential Teens in 2018. She's won the Rachel Carson Prize in March 2019, awarded to a woman who has distinguished herself in outstanding work for the environment in Norway and internationally. I mean, I can go on and on and on. Like, there's so much to talk about Greta Thunberg, but if you know her name, you know she is tied with climate activism and more recently just activism prominently as a whole has been seen in the global eye because there was following her on her ship and it's intercepted by Israeli forces. And yeah, she's only 22 and has a lot going for her.
Yep, I remember when I was looking something up months ago, something came up with her, and then when you said her birth date, I was like, she's younger than both of you.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's a lot going on since, I mean, hasn't been alive very long.
No, but I mean,
No.
hey, I get it. If I had more opportunities like her in high school and things of that nature, I probably will probably do that now. But I have a job and things to worry about.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the hard decision to make is which is my livelihood or other livelihood. That's the
Yeah.
hard part.
And it's, hey, my workplace at least is just, I can go safely protest and my active, take my use of the First Amendment of the freedom of speech and freedom to assemble to protest.
Yeah, I don't know that I can do that.
Yeah,
Depends on what I'm protesting.
true.
Mhm.
I did high five a high. It's not even ranking feels wrong, but like high level person in my company about being at the Black Lives Matter protest, and he's like, "Yeah, I got tear gas." I'm like, "I didn't. I managed to not, but like, cool."
Yeah, I don't know that that would happen at my job.
No.
That would be weird. That
Most
would be weird.
also the world I live in for a job, that's not common. But yeah, that's my
Yeah.
person.
Yeah. Cool.
I totally get it. Also have lots of rage, but I'm not as direct and blunt as her to the point of you're stealing my livelihood and my future, which I think helps with the fact that I'm a couple years older than her. Well, not much, but still, that I know plays an effect.
It does.
I also don't want children. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying she does, she has her own decisions, but I know that also, like, as women, that's kind of pushed onto us. And that also think about it. It's like, it's
The
not just my
future.
future, but like,
Yes. Yes. It's
yeah.
very it's very different because I feel like our idea of future is more expansive because of that. Like
Hmm.
when I think of I saw something the other day that said we may be the last generation, or actually I guess the younger generation, maybe the last generation to see fireflies. And I was like, what is that? My grandkids won't be able to see fireflies. Their kids won't be able to see fireflies. The
I
whole
love
world is
fireflies.
going down. So
Mm.
and I was like going, "Wait, what? No." But well, that's cool. Okay, mine I don't know. I didn't know what to do. I
I don't know.
started I don't know. I didn't know what to do. So I was actually going to define women and female, and then I was like, uh
Send this to my dad.
well, that's where it came from. And then I was like, well, maybe she's doing that.
No,
So
you can do that next time. I'll leave that
so
to you. But
yeah,
yes,
I start,
biologically, there's at least three sexes, and gender is a societal term. Fun fact.
yeah, it's a construct. It's a cultural construct in some societies. Anyhow, we'll get there later. But I started writing all those notes, and then I was like, crap. If I had this idea, then she might have this idea because of the conversation. Da da da. Da. So I was like, oh, okay. So I was like, well, I know that health is very different from women and men. So I was like, okay, well, let's just look up like issues for women. And the main one, of course, that came to my head before I even looked anything up was heart attacks and heart disease are different in women.
Yeah,
Yay.
and medicine is based on men.
Yes. So I decided to look that up. So when I first looked it up, I like said, what are, issues impactful to women's health, or I don't know what I typed in. Who knows? One of the things that came up was from Northwestern Medicine, which is from Northwestern University. And it says the article was 9 health issues every woman should understand. And it's like, number one is heart disease, number one cause of death for women in the US. Yay! And then stroke. Apparently, more women than men die from strokes.
Oh, okay.
Diabetes. It increased your risk of heart disease by 4 times. Maternal issues. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, that duh. I feel like that
If
was
you
a
got a
duh.
uterus and you're using it, yes.
I feel like, yeah, okay, duh. UTIs, urinary tract infections, which are more common in women because of our tract is urethra is shorter than men's, and
Other things.
yeah. HPV and cancer. So
HPV's top, I guess, because cervical cancer leads to.
yeah, and people, you're the first generation that really was getting immunized. So
Mhm.
like my generation wasn't immunized. Breast cancer is the second most common cancer in women in the US. Osteoporosis, which is the weakening of our bones, which happens after menopause and things like that, blah, blah, blah. And Alzheimer's disease, which 2/3 of the US patients are women. And I was doing things about this, is not what I'm doing. I'm doing heart disease and heart attacks, but I was thinking, so you have a higher risk at Alzheimer's in one genetics. Like, I didn't tell you this, but when I got my 23 thing, I am at a slightly elevated risk.
Okay, mine didn't say that, so I guess I got my dad's genes or they didn't update. I don't know.
Yeah. So mine, me, and all the other things that I don't do or do. Like, but I
Yay.
was thinking, I wonder if women have a higher risk if lack of sleeping and stress and taking care of themselves increases the risk. After
Yes.
a woman has a child, there is no sleeping. I mean, the younger generations now, men and women are more actively, equally partaking in the raising of the child.
As they should.
But my generation and older, that's not a
No.
thing. Women did that.
No.
And since all their
Yeah.
data is based on the older generations, I wonder if that's going to become more of a evil playing field now that I was just curious. About brain did weird, wacky things.
I
Also,
don't know.
apparently, autoimmune diseases are things
Yes.
like lupus and RA are more prominent
You
in
know
women.
why? Because
And MS.
women bottle stuff up because we have to be all quiet
Yes.
and be pretty and perfect every time. And if we have a
Yes.
breakdown, we're insane and we get lobotomies.
Yeah, with a nice pick through our eyes. Yay! So, and according to the National Institute of Mental Health, depression, anxiety, and eating disorders are, of course, a lot stronger and not stronger. I mean, they are because there's increased numbers in women than there are in men. Eating disorders are very uncommon in men as far as women go because, again, there is a cultural expectation for that. But also, eating disorders are more based on control. If you don't know anything about eating disorders, most eating disorders, though they on the surface seem like they're more about like your weight, it's more about also having control of something. And there's very little things, and especially in the younger you are in life, the control you have over things in your life. But if you can control what you intake or what you upchuck, that is giving you control and you feel a little bit more powerful in your life.
I mean,
Which,
that's why I have my OCD the way it is.
I mean, that's life.
Because,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, we need control in our lives. So
Yes.
heart disease. So, very, very, yeah, just bad. Risk factors. So there's uncontrollable risk factors such as early menstruation, early menopause, or just postmenopausal. We can't really control when that happens unless
Lovely.
we're under doctor's care making that change. Pregnancy, I'm not sure if pregnancy is considered uncontrollable because though we can control being pregnant, so I'm not sure what risk.
Historically, we couldn't.
Yes, so I'm not really sure what to put that under, so I kind of put that in the middle.
Okay.
Controllable risks, major risk factors. So 95% of heart disease deaths have at least one of these factors: smoking, high blood pressure, high blood cholesterol, overweight, physical inactivity, diabetes, anxiety or depression, autoimmune diseases like lupus and RA, which is rheumatoid arthritis, family history, your high blood pressure, high blood cholesterol, overweight, all of that can increase after menopause biologically, whether you've changed your lifestyle or not. So that gives you a higher risk for all of them. We've already talked about menopause, so we just go back and listen to whatever episode that was about menopause.
Uh,
So
I don't know what episode.
I don't either. Um, Healthy heart habits that could help control some of these things, though some of it is genetic, some of it is kind of just out of your hands. Not smoking, healthy diet. So when you think about a healthy diet, that means like 50% of your diet is fruits and veggies, which If you're on a budget, fruits and
Expensive.
veggies are expensive. Whole grains, low fat or fat free dairy, lean meats, no saturated or trans fats, less sugar and salt. So basically, no processed or fast foods. And when I think fast foods, I'm like McDonald's, but that also includes going to restaurants that are going to come out faster than shorter,
Well,
not
just
like
restaurants in general add a
general.
lot more salt.
They not just they add it, but they also like a lot of restaurants that even if their food is cooked in house, they have to get the food there. So it is
Yep.
still preserved in some way, and preserving it is your salt. If you didn't pay attention in like colonial history, that's how they preserved the meats. Throw some salt on it. So maintaining a healthy weight, which that's different for every single person. I am 5'4" ish, and the high weight for my height is like 155. However, my body type means that that is like high for my height. It
Mhm.
depends. Talk to your doctor. Regular physical activity. So, like 30 minutes a day of moderate, like walking, biking, or cleaning. I don't want to
Because
clean 30
moving around the
minutes.
house and doing chores is still working out and
Yes, still
moving.
working out. Um, doing vigorous is like hiking or jogging or fast biking. You can break these up into 10-minute intervals a day, like throughout your day. Like do 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there. I don't know about you, but I barely get to get pee when I'm like, working. Don't know where I'm going to.
I mean, I
Anyhow,
have my ADHD meds to remind me to do things.
I don't. Manage stress, like relax 15 to 20 minutes per day. Again, easier said than done. I know. I get that. Just like I have to every night, and I do this because my cats don't give me an option. I have to sit down for a little bit with my boys because if they don't get mommy time, they don't let me go to sleep. So that, granted, I'm usually looking at something for work or something, but I'm at least sitting down and I find it relaxing to be extra prepared for work. So, workaholics, yes, there's a thing, but sometimes it relaxes some of us. We all have our own thing. Limit alcohol. And that said, limiting it to 1 drink a day. Where did the red wine go thing? I don't know. I didn't see that. Monitor your blood pressure, sugar, and cholesterol. Sleep 7 to 9 hours per day, which, who has that time in their lives?
No one does.
No
That's why they
one.
sacrifice sleep for to do
Yeah.
these fun things. You have to be at work for 8, 9 hours a day, and there's travel to and from, and errands and chores. And if you have kids or pets to take care of, or other people,
Yeah, I don't 7 to 9 hours of sleep? What? Anyhow, so there are similar heart disease treatments for men and women, like some meds, stenting, certain bypass surgeries, but some of it's still more likely to happen with men than with women. The differences are women apparently are less likely to be subscribed, not subscribed, prescribed aspirin to prevent future heart attacks, which I was like, what? Because everybody knows that. Everybody knows that is like, that's one of those things, low dose aspirin to help prevent future heart attacks. Women are apparently less, not that the benefits have ever shown to be different for men and women, but anyhow, also less likely to be sent to cardiac rehab. I think that's because men just won't do it if they don't go, but women generally will. I think that's a whole
yeah.
mindset thing. Okay, so let's find out what a heart attack is.
Wow.
Yes. So myocardial infarction is the official word, I guess. The blood flow bringing oxygen to the heart muscles suddenly is blocked. Somehow, some way, there's lots of things that go in and out of that heart. Basically, your heart is not getting enough oxygen to keep it working and it requires immediate attention, usually like, 911. So, signs and symptoms of a heart attack in women. So, the most common for men and women is chest pain or pressure or tightness in the center of chest, and it may be constant or it may go away and come back, or just feel like a discomfort or instead of a crushing pain. Like men apparently say, that have that crushing pain where women are just like, this doesn't feel right.
Yeah, and then also there's situations where, like, one of the places that I worked before, a man was actually having a panic or anxiety attack. I don't know the
Yes.
exact situation that he was, and they called 911 because he hadn't had one before, so he thought he was having a heart attack.
Yep. So that's the thing too is, I mean, granted, get it checked out. But so you can have pain or discomfort in your arms, one or both, in the upper back, the upper stomach, the neck, the jaw, the shoulder, the upper body, anywhere from like your waist up. If you're uncomfortable and feeling some kind of pressure, you may be having a heart attack or a panic attack, or you pulled a muscle, or you just ate too spicy of food. It could be lots of things. Women, so shortness of breath with or without chest discomfort. So I know when I was getting ready to have my sinus surgery and I was like complaining that I was having trouble breathing because I had to prop myself up. I wasn't complaining. They're just asking about certain things. And I was like, well, I prop myself up because I have trouble breathing when I'm going to sleep. Well, then that's heart failure. No, it's I can't breathe out my nose.
Yeah, I sleep with my mouth open because I can't breathe out of my nose that well.
Well, and then when I went to the sinus doctor, because she was like calling in for like I was getting another referral to cardiologist and all this other stuff. She's convinced, and maybe she's not wrong. I don't know. And the sinus doctor was like, no, it's probably your sinuses. And I said, well, I agree. And then I'm still short of breath, but that could be also my brain thing. Anyhow,
Hey, I
moving
got
on.
my heart checked out. I got the scan of it.
No, my heart's not good. We know that. So
Yeah, mine's
it's
good.
fine. Mine's not. So unusual tiredness, weakness, lightheadedness, dizziness. Okay. So sweat. You all of a sudden break out into a sweat or a cold sweat. Each person's different.
What if you're going through perimenopause? You don't know what's going on.
Exactly. Nausea, vomiting, heartburn, which is also indigestion. Overall, if you have an upset stomach, women report heart attack symptoms as gastrological issues 50% more than men. So here's the thing. If you don't feel good and you feel like there's something you need to do something about, please do something about it, because it could be, especially at a certain age in your life, you may need to see somebody. If you have a spontaneous, like anything, acute onset, which just means like severe and out of nowhere. And symptoms are vague, but they tend to be more noticeable in the chest for women. Like the pain is more noticeable like when you're laying down or you're asleep. So apparently that's why I guess my doctor was like, heart failure, you're laying down and you're having a hard time breathing. I just can't breathe out my nose.
Yeah, there's other things before you jump to the scariest.
Yeah, they always jump to the scariest, but they're usually right. So that's the scary part.
Ugh.
Symptoms are more noticeable when resting or sleeping. Basically, our bodies are crazy complex things. You know your body better than anybody else in the world. Like, I'm sorry, I think that's disgusting looking. It's gross. Apparently, it's because I'm allergic to wasps, and a wasp stung me a week ago. Yeah, a week ago today.
Mhm.
And the venom bruised my innards. I don't know. I'm not a scientist or a doctor. I don't know these things, but it's your body. You know when there's something wonky, go see a doctor, talk to your doctor, get a doctor, drink water, take a walk.
And
Eat.
if you're a woman, they're less likely to listen to you. So you need to be stern and straightforward.
And
And
you
be
need
like,
to find
no. This isn't right.
Yep. Find a doctor that listens to you, because I thought I found one and then she didn't listen to me. And then now she's listening to me again, but I don't know. I need to tell her that she didn't hear this part. So I have to go to that. But anyhow, you know your body. Like I can tell you when even somebody else looking at me can't tell that my hands are swollen or this or that, or my brain's coming out of my skull, those kind of things.
You concern me with all your health issues.
Yeah. I wore I confused doctor's shirt. I think maybe it was Monday. I don't know. And people laughed, and I was like, well, my daughter got it from years ago. Didn't stop being fitting.
No.
No, no. So, but that's what I have about heart disease. Maybe we will probably revisit other things because our bodies are just wonky and we've got things that just don't.
Biology is weird.
It really is.
On the note of yours and talking about gender v sex and other things like that, I'm not gonna go grab my book, a book rec for the day or the week or whatever. Forced Euphoria. I don't remember the author's name, but there's gonna be the almost only Forced Euphoria. It's got a snake on the front, mushrooms, and a crow or raven. And it is a nonfiction book, and it goes on the memoir of the author and her understanding queerness and getting into the scientific aspect of also how in the natural world how often and common multiple sexes, multiple sexual attractions, and all sorts of things is normal, and how humans are truly abnormal, and the fact that homophobia exists. So, definitely not salty, but happy Pride Month!
With that, go do something extraordinary.